Now, over the past couple of months, we have seen a lot of great change when it comes to the Star Wars franchise, all thanks to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni really taking action on exactly where the Mandoverse is going and where it already has gone with Mando Season 2, and exactly how it's all going to play a big role in really reviving Star Wars Legends. This is basically Favreau and Filoni's big mission in mind to really complete and to really get things rolling as fast as possible. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to actually see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now that brings us to exactly what's been going on with Kathleen Kennedy and exactly what's also going on with her projects like Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte. We've already talked about how those two projects have really been in a lot of trouble lately, a lot of setbacks, a lot of set problems, a lot of crew members dealing with a toxic environment. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on, and it really just is not great news, or not even a good image at that point for Disney Star Wars as a whole. And that's exactly why I say Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte, I think, are going to be underwhelming shows. I know that there's not a shred of official footage out yet, but given that Kathleen Kennedy is leading it, it's not looking good so far. And that brings us to exactly what Kathleen Kennedy had to say about the Star Wars fandom, and of course, the vision of George Lucas, and it really is a quite bad take on how she sees the fandom, how she sees George Lucas's vision, and, well, just how she sees Star Wars as a whole. So let's dive right into the specifics about all of this, because she really elaborates exactly what she likes and what she does not like. So, with many new Star Wars TV shows in the works by both Favreau and Filoni, George Lucas is also involved with multiple Star Wars projects in the works. However, it's described that recently Kathleen Kennedy responded to the franchise, where she actually talked more about the fandom by stating the following. When I take a look at this franchise, I see two things. One, that the fandom is too attached to an old vision from George Lucas that needs to be disconnected to move on to bigger and brighter ideas. And two, how we can remove that burden to better suit our storytellers to have more freedom in their writing style, which is lacking these days. The loud, opinionated fans that like to shame the writers and to criticize their work need to shut up, because it's very disrespectful to somebody who is only trying to create a proper vision for its fan base. Let me pause here quick for a second. Now, Kathleen Kennedy really putting a large percentage of the fans on, her own version of, criticizing them. Basically, what she's saying is that the fans that are very passionate, that were very upset about what happened with the recent projects, how they had to raise their opinion, how they had to raise their voices and let them be heard, she's basically telling them to shut up, and she's telling them that they are the ones actually criticizing, or in this scenario, really kind of not just criticizing, but she goes on to actually make it as we are shaming the creators, or just kind of like trying to put them down, and that's not the case at all. We're just pointing out flaws when it comes to films like The Last Jedi, or films, of course, out there like Episode 9. They have their flaws, and it's perfectly fine for the fans to raise those opinions of theirs, of how they think about those flaws. So, that's the biggest problem that I have with Kathleen Kennedy, is that she seems to be getting more and more vocal in a sense, where she's really getting a little bit of an attitude toward the fan base, and that's something that I don't like, and I could see why Disney's really trying to get rid of her as fast as possible. It really comes across that maybe she's taking it out on the fans even more nowadays because she knows her days are numbered, since Disney wants to get her kicked out by August of this year. So, moving on to the next thing, of course, that's very important is that Kathleen Kennedy, for those of you that don't know, she initially had George Lucas working on a big scene for the Acolyte. It was going to involve Yoda and a vision of Anakin Skywalker, like a future vision. And she completely just disrespected him. She just deleted the whole scene, erased it from the script behind George's back, and that was that. It was a thing in the past. She didn't let even George know that she took it out of the script. And this is exactly why George does not go to any kind of premiere anymore, as long as Kathleen Kennedy is attached to it as a producer. And those days are pretty much going to be diminished very soon. However, moving on, she goes on to say, I am happy to be working with Leslie Headland, and who is one of those creators that ignores the fans and focuses on her own work and her own vision, which is why we are very excited about The Acolyte. She goes on to elaborate. It pulls away from George's vision that long needed to be disconnected to create original work that fans have never seen before. The aesthetics of Star Wars for this series is also very transformative, and they will see that once the series arrives. We think it was the best move to move away from George's vision to evolve Star Wars as best we can. So, this is the problem that I also have with Kathleen Kennedy, is that she seems to be very obsessed with really kind of just steering away from George's vision and his overall outlook, I guess you could say, of Star Wars, his overall philosophy, how he thinks Star Wars, really is and what it stands for. And that's my biggest problem, is that you don't need to get rid of George Lucas's vision to create original art. You don't. Look at shows out there like Andor, which a lot of fans out there love. Some fans are not that crazy about it, that's fine. But for those fans that love it, that's a specific show that pulled away from George's vision. And that was all by Kathleen Kennedy, by the way, guys. In case you guys did not know, she really wanted Andor to pull away more so from George's vision and taking away the aesthetics of Star Wars in some cases. Not that it's like that thoroughly in the show, but it has its moments where it gets rid of the Star Wars aesthetics. Now, obviously that was a Kathleen Kennedy-led project. That's why a lot of fans tend to criticize Kenobi, Boba Fett, and quite a number of fans with Andor. Again, I know that Andor, a lot of people love the show. Some fans out there really dislike the show. It's kind of like a half and half scenario, where you have a lot of fans that are really positive about it and really negative about it, or just staying, very distant from the show. Now, when you look at things like this too, Kathleen Kennedy really putting the fans on the spot, saying that they criticizing the creators are basically us shaming the creators and really just putting the creators down. And I don't like that. I don't like when Kathleen Kennedy tries to make that assumption public and tries to make the fans look bad. It's really bad for business. It's not a good image for Lucasfilm. And this is exactly why, once again, Disney just wants her out. She's too vocal. She prematurely announces projects too much. I mean, look at what happened with Patty Jenkins. Now they're trying to cover that up. Patty Jenkins is so desperate that she recently had to come out and say that the show or the movie is still alive, technically. It's not. The truth is, the movie's dead. It's not happening. Rogue Squadron is not moving forward. Even the Rian Johnson trilogy, they try to cover that up as much as possible. That's also Kathleen Kennedy admitted on the back burner. Anything that's on the back burner never happens, especially with Star Wars. We've seen a lot of projects that went on the back burner and never happened. Sadly, guys, Lando series is in the same boat. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Nights in the